All right, my name is Elion,
And I'm Jack Williams.
and we're on a mission from God. Today we are going to talk about Blues Brothers, an iconic music movie set in 1980 in Chicago.
Yeah. All right, so I've seen this movie before. I probably watched it 3 or 4 years ago. That was probably the last time I watched it. I've seen it before then too. But this is your first time watching it, right, Elion?
Yeah, we had the pleasure of watching it together.
Absolutely, my basement
Yeah.
with my dad.
Yeah, with your dad, who was narrating through the entire movie.
It was great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So, just in general, did you like the movie?
Yeah, I did enjoy the movie, but I was also a little disappointed
Really?
because I had some ideas of what to expect before I saw the movie that were instilled by you, but
Okay.
I thought I was going to see a more serious movie, considering the premise was these brothers raising money for an orphanage that was closing down. So I was expecting a serious tone,
I get you.
and then it was not serious at all.
So, I mean, did it ruin the movie for you, or did it just were you let down that it wasn't more serious?
I was let down a little bit, but I feel like if I go back and watch the movie again and expect, not to say less, but if I go in with a different lens, so to say, and just expect it to be a kind of fun movie, I feel like it would be very enjoyable.
Makes sense. I love the movie. I mean, it's just because it's just crazy comedy. It's completely goofy. Blues Brothers, I'm not sure if you know, they actually started as like an SNL skit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's how it's kind of interesting how that kind of carries over into the movie, both in terms of its silliness, but also it's not a sketch comedy movie, but it's kind of jumps from point to point a lot of times where they don't necessarily feel connected, like running the Nazis off the bridge, right? I mean, like that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it was really funny, so they included it.
Yeah, I mean, there were certain aspects that I liked about it, but it was really obvious to see that most of the scenes weren't connected. And when you watch any typical movie that follows like a general guideline of having an exposition or climax or rising action, you expect it to kind of follow in this fashion, but it doesn't follow in that way at all, and it feels kind of separated in that sense. But obviously, that's not the goal of the movie.
Also, I think to some degree it follows a kind of structured plot. I mean, there's definitely elements where it feels kind of random, but I think overall the whole idea of them forming the band, raising money for the orphanage, like there's definitely a goal that you don't forget. It never feels like it strays from the goal of them getting the band back together, playing a concert, and then getting the money.
And yeah, the other thing I remembered about the movie was it took them like more than half the movie to get the band back together, and then you're like, well, wait, isn't the goal for them to raise money?
Right.
And then that kind of happens all in the later half of the movie. It just all kind of happens at once.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a kind of, I want to say Deus Ex Machina, where the owner of the place they were playing at kind of just hands them an envelope full of like $800 or
yeah, and then you're just like, oh,
exactly how much they need.
Yeah.
And I remember at the end when they were in the car chase, there was that moment right at the end when they back up the car and jump over the Nazis.
Car chase.
Well,
for a music movie.
Oh, it was great, but I remember right when they jumped over the Nazis and the Nazis went like flying across Chicago. You looked at me, you went, "Come on!"
Yeah. No, I mean, the movie definitely succeeds at being fun and comical, but the pacing is definitely a little off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my only complaint. I hate to be a stickler about it. I feel like if I go back and watch a movie a few times and just kind of change my expectations, I think it would be a phenomenal movie to watch just to like laugh.
There's really one thing I disliked. It's kind of specific, so I want to start with a question. Do you consider this movie a musical? I'll tell you my opinion. I don't think so.
Oh, you don't?
No, well, because the reason is like usually in a musical, the music is kind of separate from the plot and the story.
Yeah.
It's more of a device to either explain characters' motivation, to explain what's going on. You know what I mean? In the context of the story, the characters usually aren't singing. I mean, there are exceptions like Sound of Music, but in a lot of musicals, the music isn't real, in a sense. Because like during musical numbers, it's kind of like there's this idea that they're just explaining things that are going on or explaining character motivations, and that in the context of the story, they aren't singing. Where like in Blues Brothers, every time somebody plays music, it's not necessarily revealing stuff about characters or driving the plot forward. It's just playing music for music's sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. So, how would you define it then?
I think the right category is just musical comedy, where it's not musical, but it's like it's a comedy with a heavy focus on music being played. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too well versed in the musical. Well, I am well versed with music, but not in the genre of acting. Yeah, in the genre of acting and music. So I couldn't really argue too much about that.
Right.
Do I think it is a musical? Not really. I mean, it just didn't feel like it. The music. I don't know where I'm going with this.
That's all right. We'll cut this out. Yeah. So back to my complaint. There's one song that doesn't follow that rule in the entire show. That's weird. It is "You Gotta Think," or maybe I think it's just called "Think," where the woman is trying to convince her husband, right, to not join the Blues Brothers, right?
Starts out of nowhere,
and she just kind of pops into song, and people at the diner are just hop up and start singing, and the guy back in the restaurant frying fries comes out with an alto and starts going ham. But
that's lazy writing.
I don't know if it's lazy, but it's definitely inconsistent.
Yeah,
because that's the only point where the music. It's not music for music's sake. It is a musical at that point, which it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't like even earlier in the church, right, where they're playing music and it's this huge number. I mean, you can see that in churches. You can see music being played and people jumping around, even though it's exaggerated. But that was
well in context of what was happening as well.
Right, and even there, the music doesn't. There's no lyrics about the Blues Brothers going to save the orphanage or anything. The story comes through the light in the cathedral coming in, Jake realizing that he's got to save the orphanage.
Yeah, in the diner, I see what you mean. The music in the diner kind of develops this plot line that really doesn't get developed about the character who's leading.
And that's the other thing. Every other song, has kind of ties in and helps the Blues Brothers. When they go to see Ray Charles, right, selling the instruments, the pianist goes up there and he's like, "This is a busted piano," but then Ray is like, "No, it's not," and he just goes crazy, and then that convinces them to buy the instruments, right?
Yeah.
But this is the only song that has no consequences. She sings it to her husband, saying, "You better not leave me, or I'm," and he just leaves at the end of the song. It never even happened. So not only is it inconsistent, it's unnecessary, and it's not that it's a bad song. She was a good singer, but it just doesn't make sense to me to include that.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. That was the only thing you disliked?
I think so. I mean, it's such a good movie. I love it at least. I think for a comedy, if you go in there expecting a comedy and wanting to watch a comedy, it's hilarious. I mean, and we could talk about the individual songs. I think all the song choices were great too. I'm not even a huge R&B fan, but some of the choices were just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like being a musical movie, or just any movie in general, it should have a little bit of drama in it. It should have something that moves you and stirs you a little bit emotionally.
That's fair. Yeah, I think they probably tried to do that with the orphanage plot, but it definitely didn't really work.
No, I didn't.
And the payoff, you don't even get to see the orphanage at the end.
You just get to see them singing in prison.
Right, and you get to see them cash a check. Oh, spoiler. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the songs in the movie.
Sure. So let's start first. The Old Landmark, James Brown. I'm not a big fan, honestly. I mean, I like where it is in the movie and the point it serves, but musically, I'm not that interested.
I think it fit perfectly, and it's actually probably my favorite piece in the entire movie. Yeah. One, it was quite comical, and I know I just went on a rant about the movie not living up to my expectations, but that part was just funny. It was just really enjoyable. It was silly, they're all in church doing backflips, and then at the end the light shines on John Belushi.
Yeah, he does a cartwheel down the middle of the aisle.
That was just funny any day of the week.
Right. I agree with you. I think the whole thing is just a little bit too repetitive. You know, it's kind of same tempo, same key. It just kind of wears you out after a while. And I guess, you know, if
it was pretty long.
If you're in church, I mean, I guess if you're in church, you know, the whole atmosphere and the Holy Spirit and the vibe's gonna get you. But you know, just sitting on a couch watching the movie, I kind of got bored after the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see where you're coming from with that. I thought it fit well. It was a little long. That's the one thing I remember. Like, it did go on for a little bit, but it at the end, it was made up by the whole light shining and
definitely.
all. That was funny.
All right. So next is Think, sung by Aretha Franklin, and you already know my opinion.
Yeah, I think we went over. Yeah, this song was just kind of shoehorned in a little bit.
I don't think it's a bad song whatsoever. It's probably my least favorite of all of them, but I mean, you know, it's such an amazing soundtrack that's not probably a diss of the song.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's bad music, and Aretha Franklin's incredible. So, you know, what do you think of it musically and like stylistically?
Musically, it was good. I mean, all of the songs in this movie, they're not, you know, music I would listen to, but they were definitely entertaining, and they fit in the movie.
So, wait, what kind of music do you listen to?
Dude, I listen to all types of music.
You don't listen
you
don't listen to rhythm and blues?
It's not my favorite, but I'm open to listen to most, except for country.
I know you don't like blues or country. But...
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Well, I don't mind blues. I do not like playing blues. I'm a saxophonist, but playing blues for me was always kind of difficult. This is kind of a little tangent, but blues for me was something when you play it and improvise over it, it's deceivingly easy. It's deceivingly hard. It's something that might look easy, but there is a definite right way of doing it, and there's a lot that has to be done stylistically for it to sound good. And it was always kind of a struggle for me. I never put too much time into it.
Yeah, I understand. I'm a singer, by the way. So this is definitely my thing. I mean, this is where vocals like really shine, and you know, singing I feel like takes precedent over a lot of the instruments. Not so much in like jazz. So like I know you really like jazz.
Yeah.
Where I feel like there's at least a balance where the music, you know, the melody line is just as important as the harmony. But I mean, in rhythm and blues, in a lot of these songs, it's really the singing that takes it over. And I mean,
yeah,
that's why John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd were so good in this movie, because they were just such expressive singers. They weren't the best singers, like they're not vocalists, but they're so like they're so expressive, and they're so energetic in the moment that it really
doesn't song Shake Your Tail Feather by Ray Charles, and this was probably my second favorite song, probably tied for first actually.
Really?
Just because of the cameo of Ray Charles.
Oh, man, yeah.
He's such a legend.
This is definitely my first favorite song. He's just so good.
It was pretty funny too, because they had the boy come in and steal a guitar. Or he tried to.
The boy comes in.
He pulls out his revolver.
I think it's funny that they're playing on him being blind. Like, I don't know. I mean,
that's funny too.
I wonder if he's okay with that. You know?
Why would he care? I mean,
he's not gonna see the movie.
Yeah.
But he was incredible. And the reason that he's there, everything about the song is so good. And then including the song itself, like it's just such a fun song. And having Ray sing it, the beginning where he's just playing the piano and singing, and then a second later, all the horns turn around, start bump 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 bump, the guy on the drum going nuts.
In a sense, for me, his presence in the movie almost validifies the movie. Like, I have to say, I'm not too familiar with the other artists and the other song, but seeing Ray Charles, I'm like, there's no doubt in my head that this is a music movie, one, and that it's legit. They bring Ray Charles on, they have a legend in the movie.
All right, do you want to go on to the next one?
Yeah.
All right, so next song is kind of a 3-part we'll talk about. It's when the Blues Brothers are in the country bunker, and they're performing. For the very first time as a group, after they'd finally gotten all the band together, as you said, after like
after an hour and a half at least.
No, I'd say it's probably like an hour.
Yeah,
Like an hour.
definitely more than half past the movie. They finally perform for the first time, and then they don't even perform blues.
Right. So well, the first one they do is "Give Me Some Lovin'," and that is like their style, but they're immediately cut off. But from the little bit you heard of that, did you expect them to be good? Like, did you expect them to work as a band? Did it sound good immediately? So I thought that just for being cut off, for playing for probably about 30 seconds, you could kind of already tell that this was like a good band. Like it sounded fantastic, and a lot of that owes to the great musicians they got. I'm not sure if that probably is the same musicians that played on the soundtrack, but even if not, like the sound they got immediately, is really cool to me.
I definitely will say it was exciting to finally see them come together, but you kind of had an idea that these blues brothers are coming to a country bunker about to play blues. Like, it's not going to go well. It wasn't too hard to predict that.
Right. So, on the topic, what did you think of the country/western songs they played?
You know how much I love country, as in I hate country music.
So you didn't like Rawhide at all?
No.
Okay. So first of all, Rawhide. That's probably
they performed it well, but
that's gotta be my second favorite.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and even the lead up to it, just when they were talking about country. I mean, the jokes that the movie pokes at country, first of all, is really funny.
Yeah.
They walk into the country bunker, and I think John Belushi says, "What kind of music you got here?" They go, "Oh, we got both kinds, country and western." That's really
Yeah, I remember that.
I thought that was really good. And then they're trying to figure out what song was. They kind of all huddle. They're like, remember the theme from the old TV show Rawhide? It goes, "What key? Hey, good country key."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I don't know, it's a lot of fun. And then the song Rawhide itself, I hadn't heard before this. I mean, I'd never seen a TV show, but I love it. Rolling, and like the bass line, it's like it's perfect. It sounds like a guy riding a horse. So much fun, and like to see the crowd's reaction to it immediately. Like, he turns back on the lights, and they start dancing on the table.
Oh yeah, and it was funny. They're still throwing the bottles, even though they enjoy the music. I see where you're saying they're poking fun too.
Right.
Kind of like a little bit like Neanderthalic.
Well, I don't think that the movie hates country music or western music. I think it just, if anything, they chose two really good songs, but they're one probably poking fun at the fact that it's so simplistic that these guys who probably never played Rawhide are just kind of snapping right to it. But I don't think it's necessarily just making fun of country music. I feel like it's to some degree showcasing the different tastes in music, maybe.
Yeah, I will say that I did like their performance and whatnot. It's just, for me, country has no appeal. It's just like, I hear country and it's just kind of like, all right, tune this out.
And to be fair, it's more western. I mean, you also not like western music?
Not really. All right, so our next song, "Stand By Your Man" by a pretty stereotypical older white woman.
I was an older when she wrote the song.
Yeah, she was. Sorry, she wasn't old when she wrote this song, but she's kind of your stereotypical, like, really poofy blonde hair kind of country girl.
So I mean, that's kind of why it's so funny that the Blues Brothers, of all people, are covering it.
And they cover it too, and they sound really bad singing it. Well, not too bad, but it's like, it's funny bad. It's supposed to not sound good, and it's actually kind of humorous, and it kind of adds to the overall aesthetic in a sense.
Right, and like I said earlier, I mean, they like their vocal quality, and like their tone and intonation isn't great, but I think they definitely sell the song as well as others. This one, it's funny because it's like a country ballad, and these guys dressed in suits and like all these like kind of larger guys in the horn section are singing this really soft song,
Oh yeah, what does he say? Like, I'd like to give it up to the horns.
Yeah,
no horns.
A favorite of the horns.
Favorite to the horns.
I think they're just singing it as the chorus. But so, what'd you think of the actual song? You still don't like it?
To be honest, it's alright.
I really like it.
At this point in the movie, I was just kind of like, I lost a little bit of interest. I'd say probably near the end, I started. Once the car chase happened. No, I'm sorry. Right before their final performance, that's kind of when I started zoning back in, and the movie started to catch my attention again.
And speaking of that, so the next song is Minnie the Moocher, which is the song that Cab Calloway sings, to kind of cover for the Blues Brothers while they're, sneaking into the performance hall. So what'd you think of that?
That's definitely more my taste.
That's more up your alley, I know.
Yeah. So I did enjoy that song. It still wasn't. It's still. I'd say it's probably third. First being the Church, and then Ray Charles, and then this one I'd say is definitely good. I didn't think too deeply about it.
Really, I mean, I think it's. I love the song. I think it's really cool how they incorporate it into the story, where it works really well as kind of the opening. Like, they're sneaking in very quietly, and they're even they're tiptoeing past the guards to the beat, bum ba dum bum ba dum bum, and you can kind of see that. And that's when they and they glue down
words meeting.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And they glue down the country bunkers, like the accelerator and such.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool because when Cab sang it originally, he was pretty young, and so he's just to see the energy in his performance. Still, it's really cool to see. I love when he said hit it. He turns around and then the whole band is then dressed in white tuxedos.
Yeah,
and they have their stands.
Yeah, I did like that part. The one thing I know you're gonna be like, come on, man, but I remember watching them and they did not have a full horn section, sax section, brass section, and I was like, come on, if you're that just bugged me. I don't know why.
I know what you're saying.
I'm picking about certain things.
Yeah, you did. You were picking out you heard I think there was a tenor solo or something. You were like, they don't have a tenor in there.
Yeah, there's no. Oh yeah. That was big. They had a tenor solo. You could clearly define the timbre of a tenor from an alto. Also, the register is different. Mm-hmm. A tenor could sit comfortably in a way lower register. Also, with the sax,
I got him going.
Also, with the sax, an alto sax just has even though it has a higher register, it also sounds a little bit. It's a brighter instrument too. Right. So when I heard that, I'm like, come on,
do you think does that fall more into the realm of nitpicky?
Oh, that's definitely nitpicky.
But I mean, did it genuinely take you out of the movie?
No,
when you saw it.
Right. No, I mean not too much. It didn't bother me that much. It's just it bothered me enough to where I'm like, come on, a music movie. You're appealing to musical people.
Mm-hmm. I remember I was really into it because I loved that part of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was really excited to look over to you, and you turned to me and you're like, "There's not even a tenor."
Yeah. I'm like, come on. That bugged me so much. I'm a tenor player, so yeah, it kind of picked at me a little bit. But no, it didn't take away from the movie.
Yeah.
At all. It just a little bit.
So then moving on to the next two songs, which are it's kind of the finale songs, I'd say, at least. The whole movie is kind of building up to this concert where the Blues Brothers are going to play. So what'd you think of these two songs? We'll kind of lump them together. So what'd you think of Everybody Needs Somebody to Love?
I know you're going to hate on me because I've been doing a lot of hating.
Hey.
But this is the first finale song that they've been kind of building up to. So I've already waited about over half the movie to get this band together, and then you wait a good 45 minutes for them to get the money,
right? And
then this is kind of the first song they showcase, and it's pretty disappointing. That's just me being honest. It's just it wasn't very. It wasn't very interesting. I will say the second song was a little bit more interesting. Well, it was straight up blues. I mean, it was a vanilla blues with a 1-4-5 progression.
I kind of hate to agree with you, but I think the first one's kind of a letdown for the finale. Like, it's not bad. It's very energetic, and I see why they picked it, because it's definitely a hype song, but it's not musically interesting. You know, it's just 1-1-4-4 7 flat 7 flat 7 4-4 1. You know, it's just the entire song. So it's just not that interesting to listen to. And granted, the blues song has like a really repetitious chord pattern, and it's still pretty predictable, but it's just more interesting in my opinion.
And it is a blues.
Right, it's a
like, sorry to be picky, but come on, like.
Well, this one I think is more the rhythm side, or rhythm and blues. That's like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we're really eager to talk about the second one. So what do you like about it?
So with the second song, I actually really like it. There's a few things about it that are interesting when you listen to the song itself. Also, when you just listen to the song, for its face value, it's a blues. It's a simple blues with a 1-4-5 progression.
Right.
It's called Sweet Home Chicago, too. It's a little bit of a parody on Sweet Home Alabama.
It's absolutely not.
Yeah, it's not. But I do appreciate some of the things that happen in the song. Besides it following a pretty vanilla kind of format of a blues, it also has some things that make it sound interesting.
Right.
I was gonna say the bass line. The bass line it's a walking bass line. It has this kind of feeling of moving forward, kind of trotting through life.
Well, I think it's funny that you enjoy it, because I know you don't like blues. I just know you said it a lot, and you said it earlier in the podcast. I think.
Yeah,
you're not a big fan of blues.
I'm just happy at this point that it's, following the movie and.
Right, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm just happy that it makes sense.
One thing I found really funny is through the song they escape, So if you remember how they do that, what they do is they actually have the band just keep soloing over like the same chord progression for like I want to say
pretty interesting.
Is there's they escape through the song, right? And so what they do is they end up just having the band solo for like the next 5 to 10 minutes. And the band just takes a long, they take their time soloing, and they just keep going, and eventually the audience gets confused. We're the Blues Brothers. And it's honestly something I've experienced playing with you in a jazz band, where like there's just these huge we didn't play a jazz band, I should say, it was like a combo, and we ended up playing a song like St. Thomas for 9 minutes because we were soloing each for like 1 or 2 minutes, and it just kind of got ridiculous.
Well, dude, that's just how it works.
No, I know it's how it works. It's interesting to somebody who's used. I mean, I really hadn't been exposed to jazz, before high school, like properly. So somebody who's used to like conventional song forms and songs I consider long are like Meatloaf's like Battle to Hell, or like Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, where these are just like these long, and like Bohemian Rhapsody, or like Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, like these long kind of epic songs that tell kind of a story. But having like these 9-minute solo sessions, it was a surprise to me, and I think I kind of wore me out, honestly, the first couple times.
Yeah, it can do that. It's just the thing with jazz, it's you have to kind of throw away those regular conventions of music, because in a sense, when you approach a piece or a standard, for example, and you're playing in a combo like that, you aren't really following a form, but the way it works almost is you are taking your interpretation of a song and improvising over it, and almost adding your own opinion to a musical thought. That's how I always thought about playing jazz, especially in a combo setting. It's more of you adding in an interjection or your own interpretation of how you think a song should go. That's just how I viewed it. Some people obviously look at it differently, but that's why solos can take sometimes so long because people want to develop their ideas, and you can't really do that in a measure. You can't really do that in one form or two forms. Sometimes it takes not forms, but choruses. Sometimes it takes 12 choruses to really get your thought across. And also, you do that so you can build with the rhythm section. It's just, there's a lot of reasons why an improvised solo will take so long like that.
What I thought was really cool is the confusion and almost anger that you can see the audience experience, especially the police department, when they're they realize where the hell the Blues Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of felt the same way the first couple times I listened to full jazz pieces. I was like, why is this taking so long? Why are we soloing for 10 minutes? So it was just kind of relatable, and I know it's kind of a stupid observation. Now that I'm...
It's not stupid. I definitely see where you're coming from. It's just something that most people aren't really akin to, because jazz doesn't really follow some conventions of regular music that we would hear. Your typical A-B form, maybe sometimes with a bridge. Jazz just kind of throws that out the window. You'll have an A-B-A-A section, and then you'll go off for 10 minutes of soloing possibly, and then you give the baton to someone else who will start soloing as well and build their own ideas up. Right. And that's kind of the thing. When you go to watch a jazz performance, you're going to hear someone's opinion. It's almost like going. I'm trying to think of a way to put it into different terms. It's almost like going to a restaurant to get something that you've already gotten, but you want to try it from a different place. I go to Chick-fil-A Cobb salad. I get that every time I go to Chick-fil-A, or sometimes I might go to Outback and get their Cobb salad. It's kind of like,
I got you.
Yeah, just to see a little bit of variation.
It's interesting. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about that last song, Jailhouse Rock.
Jailhouse Rock's kind of similar to the other songs. It just doesn't. Honestly, it just doesn't do much for me. Kind of like Everybody Needs Somebody to Love. It's just another kind of typical song, follows a generic progression.
Yeah,
it's just not very memorable.
I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's that memorable. I think it's a good note to kind of end the movie on. Honestly, though, I think it's kind of cool to see the whole band, the whole band together playing kind of a typical rhythm and blues song, and I thought it was just a really fun way to end the movie.
So thanks for joining.
What?
Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So that concludes our first podcast in a 4-part series. Thanks for joining me, Jack.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's a pleasure to watch this movie with you.
Yeah, you'll definitely be in the next 4 podcasts.
Yeah. All right. So, what would you want to give this movie?
Let's give it. I don't know. It's tough because it's a funny movie, but I'll give it a half note.
A half note? Out of what?
Out of a full measure.
A full measure?
Yeah.
I'm gonna at least give it a dotted half note.
Dotted half note?
Dotted half note. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little generous. Maybe.
What were we 4-4?
Yeah, we're in 4-4.
4-4. Yeah, definitely dotted half note.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. I'm sticking with half note.
Half note?
Yeah.
50%?
I'm giving it a 50%. Right. No mercy. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. On the next podcast, we will be talking about La La Land.
All right. See you guys next week.